anything you want.
In this video, we'll look at one of the most common licks using double stops, sets of 2 notes that form patterns you can move around the neck, usually just based off the underlying chord. Or if you prefer to hang out down here by the nut, there's a fixed version too that works well with an open E chord. And there's lots more double stop patterns shown in my free web app, The Building Blocks of Rock, which you can find at guitarviz.com. In my app, I use 5 symbols to show common techniques. 4, I think, are pretty obvious. The last one, maybe not. And that is, when I show a double stop, I'll draw a line between the 2 notes in a double stop, especially when there's more than one double stop in a lick or a riff. Example, in the solo for Proud Mary, about halfway through, you'll hear this quick little lick. There's 3 double stops. The last one is a bar. What is a double stop, you ask? Well, back in the 70s when I was learning guitar, it wasn't a term that you commonly heard. It's more common these days. You might hear different definitions too. To me, the best definition is each double stop is a unit. You play the notes in one before moving to the next. You don't play the note in one double stop, then another one, and then another one. No, you play the notes in one, maybe together, maybe individually, and then you move on to the next ones. In this video, we'll look at one of the most common double stop shapes. The movable version is played at the same place as you'd play this basic E-shaped bar chord. So if you know how to move that bar chord around the neck, you should be able to easily move this lick around too. The open string version is based on an open E chord and an E major scale. And by the way, this lick has a major scale type of sound, so you wouldn't want to use it over a minor chord. And some double stops, like that first pattern we looked at, the notes are on adjacent strings. Others, like this lick we're about to look at, you've got one or more strings in between that you're not playing, so you've got to get good at muting those in-between strings. Starting here with the highest double stop at the 4th fret, you play the 3rd string and 1st string, but you mute the 2nd string with the middle finger on the 3rd string. Or whatever finger you're using to fret the 3rd string. 2nd double stop at the 2nd fret is just the same. And the lowest double stop is the 1st finger on the 3rd string, muting the 2nd string, open 1st string. There's 2 guitars in Proud Mary. Tom Fogerty is in standard tuning, and he's playing in D. But John Fogerty is down-tuned to whole steps, so when he's doing those licks and fills that sound like they're in D, he's actually playing in E. I'm in standard tuning here. At the end of each course, you'll hear this lick. Rollin', rollin' on the river. I'll play the double stops first by themselves, and then I'll add in the slide and hammer on. Including the slide and hammer on, it would sound like this. Rolling on the river. Played slowly, slide into that highest double stop. Slide back down into the lowest double stop. Then a hammer on. Finally, in the pre-chorus, the 2nd and 3rd pre-chorus, you'll also hear this little lick, kind of a variation on it. Proud Mary, keep on burning. Sounds like this. Little hammer on the 2nd string, 2 notes on the 1st string, and then slide into the highest, back down. A common thing you'll hear from experienced guitarists is, oh, I thought I knew how to play a certain song or lick, and then you go back and listen to it years later and you realize, oh, there's a few details you missed, Or even, wow, I was playing it completely wrong. I thought for sure this Pete Townsend lick and Won't Get Fooled Again was an example of this lick we're looking at. So I went ahead and recorded the video segment you're about to see, and now here it is time to publish, and I'm realizing, well, I'm a few notes off. Instead of playing this, he's playing something like this. With the open fourth string, kind of weird, but sounds like that's what he's playing. But you know what? I'm going to double down on my mistake. I'm going to leave this segment in because I still think it's a good example of this lick. Won't Get Fooled Again. You hear this lick a few times during the song. Pick up my guitar and play. It's this lick we've been looking at. 3 double stops on the 3rd and 1st strings. First one up here at the 4th fret. Second one, 2nd fret. And the first one in open position. And sometimes you'll hear these double stops as played together, both the 3rd and 1st strings. Other times, like here, you'll hear them as individual notes. And when you do that, hear them as individual notes, you almost always hear it as lowest string to high string. Not the opposite. No law against it, just that it's most common to hear it the other way. The lick is played twice in between the lick over the G chord. You hear this lick. Almost like a movable version of this lick that we've been looking at. Then it's back to the E chord. The movable version of this lick looks pretty much like the open string version, except of course there's no open first string. To use it, think about what chord you're playing over. Let's say C. On the 6th string, C will be here at the 8th fret. That's where the lick goes. You can use your 2nd finger and 1st finger for the first double stop. For the next 2, you can use either the 3rd and 4th fingers or the 2nd and 3rd fingers. Both are common. And again, you'll hear these either as both strings played together or individually. We'll look at both, starting with the Lemon Song. The first chord there is E on the 6th string, and E is up here at the 12th fret. That's where the lick goes. We're here at the 12th fret. That's where the root is for E. Place all the notes in the shape relative to the root. So the note on the 1st string is at the same fret, the 12th fret. There's the first double stop, the 2nd one, and the 3rd one. Muting the 2nd string with your middle finger. And a few other little nuances, sliding down the neck at the end of each phrase with some vibrato when you get to the highest double stop. You can stop noise on the lower strings while playing that vibrato by reaching over with your 1st finger to mute those other strings. Some YouTube videos I've seen show this as triads, occasional triads, like right here, playing 3 strings. I only hear 2 strings, with one exception. The very first time in the solo, I hear this D7 shape, all 3 strings. But from then on, just 2 strings. chord changes to A. Move the lick along with the chord. On the 6th string, an A note would be at either the 5th fret or the 17th fret. Up here, again, place all the notes relative to where the root is. So the note on the 1st string is at the same fret. Back to the E. Then he goes into this cool descending lick. Which is unrelated to the lick we're looking at. It's more based off of an A7 shape, top strings. But same thing, taking the lick, moving it along with the chords. B, A, E, and B down here. So you're not really thinking the song's in the key of E and I'm going to solo using an E whatever scale. Instead, you're thinking, I've got this lick, I'm going to move it along with the chords. That's what the first time through this solo was all about. Using first this lick, and then this lick. Now, from that point on, he starts using a more like E minor pentatonic licks. So more of a traditional play off the key sort of thing. But the first time through, play off the chord. So this solo is a good example of both approaches. Brief tangent before we leave the Lemon song. When those licks come in, they're done with an overdubbed second guitar. Listen carefully to what the first guitar is playing, the rhythm guitar. It's doing this. That's a common riff. Just take this A-shaped bar chord and lift up the little bar. And then the open string version over the A chord. But I digress. Back to the lick at hand. Other examples, other Led Zeppelin examples are Maker. Let's try that again. Taking this top 4 strings of an E-shaped bar chord and using this little lick on top of it. Or All of My Love, another example, also in C. Both of those Led Zeppelin examples doing the same thing, taking the lick, moving it along with the chords. Also, both of those examples, you're playing both strings together, but it's just as common to play them as individual strings. Next example, Dig a Pony by the Beatles, has examples of both. After the riff in A, the chords are F sharp minor, B minor, G. And over the G chord, George plays this lick. The root is G, same as the chord, here at the 3rd fret. First finger at the 3rd fret. Slide between the 2nd and 3rd double stops. Back to the 2nd. Little hammer on between the 1st and 2nd double stops. Just like the hammer-ons in All of My Love. And like Jimmy Page in All of My Love, George might be using his fingers to pick both the 1st and 3rd strings at the same time, instead of picking them. And then, over the B minor chord, George resolves to this. Just the first and third strings of the B minor chord. Another G chord. And then over the E chord, George plays this lick. The open position version of this lick. The root is E, same as the chord, open sixth string. There's that open first string. First finger there at the third, on the third string, first fret. Notice this time how he's playing the notes in the double stop as individual strings instead of together like he did in the first lick. Downstroke, upstroke. And then the lick ends like this. When I first heard this lick, I thought he was maybe playing this. Another variation of this lick that we'll look at next, just adding another double stop in between those top two. And the root would be A, kind of anticipating the A chord. But no, that's not what he's playing. He's playing this. Keeping the note on the third string the same, only moving the note up on the first string. But still, nice segue into that A chord and into this next variation of the lick that we'll look at. When you add that additional double stop, it gives kind of a chromatic flavor to the lick, going up or down one fret at a time. Here's a few examples. Ballad of John and Yoko by the Beatles. Takes that lick, just moves it around along with the chords. Over the A chord, over the E chord, B, back to E. And it sounds like he's using his fingers to play the first and third strings instead of his pick. Over the A and E chords, it's pretty much hanging out at the 12th fret. Next two chords, F sharp minor and D. Over the F sharp minor. Different kind of double stop. There's no string in between the two, like there are with the ones we're looking at. Over that D chord. Root at the 10th fret, D. And continuing the Creedence vein and somewhere in that 10-minute long solo on Keep On Chooglin, you hear this little riff. And finally, this lick is also good for endings too. End of Rude Mood, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Can't play it nearly as well as he can, and it's very fast, but it's something like this. And of course, the classic ending in The Jack by AC/DC.
Thank you very much, folks. Good night, and God bless.